Okay, so now let's say that for whatever idea that you get that you want to look at this chart and see what would this chart look like if it were a bar chart instead of a column chart, you could come over here and click on the chart, and again you can go under the chart tools chart tab, and you could come over here and select a different type of chart, and in this case a clustered bar chart. And again, you see how it changes its appearance, and again it's just a matter of personal preference. All it does is take that data and it turns it sideways, and again it's just a matter of personal preference. Now on the desktop version of Excel, you would have even more formatting features, more chart types available to you that we do not have here in the online version. So now what we want to do is we want to come over here and we want to go under grid lines, click the grid lines button, and we want to go under primary horizontal grid lines. These are the grid lines that go across, and you can kind of look at the preview of these buttons that you see here, these different options. And what we want to do is we want to select none, and what it's going to do, it's going to take these lines off of the chart that you see going straight across the chart, and now they're gone. And that may make it a little bit more difficult to read or to estimate exactly how large these numbers are. But you could also add additional data labels that will actually include the actual number on this chart. That way you won't have to guess. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go and select grid lines, and we want to go to primary major horizontal, and we want to put those on there. So again, we're under our primary horizontal grid lines. This time we click major grid lines, and all that does is put them right back on there. And then this time what we want to do is we want to go also and put in minor grid lines. And so if you click this, it's going to put even more grid lines in there at about every 200 units. So it's kind of hard to see it right now. I can make this a little bit bigger, but all that did was add more grid lines on there to make it easier to estimate. For example, this piece of data right here, the Australia for Q3, it makes it easier to see that, hey, that's around 7,200. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to go to our axis titles. So you can come over here under axis. Actually, here's the axis titles button. Remember I told you there's going to be some things that are slightly different. And what we want to do is on the vertical axis title, want to come over here. And what we want to do is, and there's a couple of different options over here, and what this is going to do is we're going to make it say rotated title. And it's going to ask you what text do you want to be in there. And what we want to do is we want to type in expenses. And we want to put in the words in, and then you want to put a $ in there. When I click OK, you're going to see this over on the left hand side of the chart, and it's going to be rotated up and down. So that is what is meant by an axis title. Now you don't necessarily need an axis title on the horizontal axis, because most people could probably look at this and see, hey, these are the names of countries. Now you can add them. There's no harm in doing so. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to come over here and we're going to go under the chart group, chart tab, go under axis title, and then the horizontal axis, we want it to be below. And here we want to type in the words tour countries. And then click OK. And then you see the words tour countries are down here. Okay. Now, some other things that you should be able to do, and again, this is one of those things that I'm going to see if it works on the desktop version or on the online version, and it's looking like that it's not. But on the desktop version of this, you could actually change the font and the font size of this text. and whatnot, and it's not allowing us to do so. But again, on the desktop version, you would be able to do that. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to go down and let's see if it'll let me do some of these other things. No, I was going to try to modify this a little bit. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do, and again, you got to remember as I go through this activity to try to show you as much as possible. We're limited because this is the online version. All right. So some other things that we would want to do is we would want to see, and again, it's not going to let us change the fill color of these. On the desktop version, you could click, for example, this green here that represents Q3, and you could actually change that, or if you didn't like green, or if you didn't like that shade of green, you can change it. That is not something we're going to be able to do here. All right, now some other things, let's see if we can do it. We'll go under the Insert tab, and the next thing I was going to show you, looks like it's not going to allow us to do that either. All right, so again, as we go through this lesson, if anything, you're also learning the differences between the desktop version and the online version. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to work on creating a pie chart. So what we're going to do first is I want to move this chart out of the way. I want to move it down here so that it's below this data, because we're going to create a pie chart and we're going to put it over here. Now, a pie chart shows the contribution of an individual part to the whole. So what we're going to have to do here is we want to select A5 to A12, and these are going to be our data labels. And then I want to hold down the control button. Now again, this is one of those things we're going to see if it works on the online version the way that it does on the desktop version. So now we want to go down and hold down the control button on the keyboard, and we want to select F5 through F12. And then we're going to go under Insert, and we can go under Recommended Charts, and it's looking like it's not going to allow us to do this. Now, on the desktop version, we would have the option of creating a pie chart, and it would automatically take this information as our data, and then it would take this information over here in column A and let those serve as the data labels. So here we're going to try to do it a different way. The data is what's definitely important, so we want to select that with the mouse, and we want to go under the pie grouping, and we just want to select a 2D pie chart because that's one of the only two options we've got. And we get this chart title. Now, notice how down here it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because there are 8 pieces of data that composes this chart, but there are no labels for them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go under Chart Tools, Chart tab, and go to Data Labels. And okay, so what I'm looking for is not here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go under Select Data. So after a brief pause in this video, I've come to realize that this pie chart, because these cells are not directly next to each other, it's not going to allow us to do this the way that I wanted to do this. So this is what I want to do then. I want to just click on this chart and I want to delete it. And I want to make a copy of this worksheet. So what I want to do is to right click it on the worksheet tab on the bottom, and I want to go to duplicate. All right, so what I want to do now, I want to cut this row or this column right here. I want to right click on this and I want to cut the column, and then I want to paste it right here. I want to see if this is going to work. And so because there's a merged cell in there, it's not going to work the way that I thought. So now what I want to do, because it's not going to work the way I thought, I want to come over here and I want to select just these cells, and let's see if this will work. And I even want to get the cell that's got the total in it. And I want to cut these cells. And then I want to paste these cells right here. So what I want to do here is I want to move these cells down. So I want to select all of these cells right here, and then I'm going to right click and I want to go to insert, and then I want cells and shift right. And notice how all of this stays the same, except what was in column F is now in column G, and now this is too narrow. The column is too narrow to be displayed, to display the contents. So what I want to do, anyway, I want to move this. So now I want to come back and select these cells, and I want to right click with my mouse and go to cut, and then I want to paste them right here. And one good thing that happens is that I got to drag column B a little bit to make it more easily displayed. All you're doing here is putting the totals first. If I look at the formulas now, if I double click on this cell, notice how, because I went through the process of copying and pasting these cells and using the cells that are built in to Excel, that I don't necessarily have to update the formulas. The formulas automatically recalculate themselves. And again, typically I don't think you'd have the total first. You would do it the way this was originally set up, where the total or the sum was out there on the end on the far right. But for the purpose of creating a pie chart, I had to do this a little bit different. So now what I want to do is I want to select these cells A5 through B12. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to insert a pie chart. And again, folks, when you're working with the online version of Excel, you don't have the full functionality of Excel that even I'm used to, so I have to find a way to make things work. So that's what I'm doing here. So now I want to make a 2D pie chart. So now you see that we have the data labels, which is what I was trying to do earlier. So again, the problem with the online version is that the cells that you put in as part of your chart have to be adjacent, or they have to be next to each other. So then some other things that you might want to do with this chart, again, you would want to go and click on the chart, and you want to go to the chart title, and you want to edit the chart title, and you want it to read total expenses by country. And I missed a letter here. And then you would want to add data labels to this chart. You want to actually be able to see the percentages. So I want to go in and go under the chart tools, and I want to go to data labels, and I want to put these on the outside end, and you can see the numbers out here. Now, one thing I will tell you about a pie chart in particular, anytime I make a pie chart, to me, generally you're wanting to see the percentage contribution compared to the whole and not a total number. So normally what I would be doing is I would be wanting to format this data label and change it to a percentage. And it's not going to let us do this, I don't think, unless it's here under this format pane. And so let's see here. The series 1 right here, the data labels, it actually is going to allow us to do that. So again, you got to click the format button, and then I want to come down here and I want to uncheck the value, and then I want to check the percentage. So now you see the percentage that each makes compared to the whole. So again, this whole thing is just, you're going to have to, if you're going to use the online version, you're going to have to learn to make do with what you've got. And you'll see, even with my knowledge in Microsoft Excel, that when I'm doing the online version, I have to find another way to get things done. So that is it for this activity. It's time to move on to the next.